Ahoy, ghosts and ghouls! It is I, Captain C, and welcome to the Captain C's review show. The C stands for cinema. That's how you know it's quality. Welcome to the first installment of our Spooktacular entries. It's finally October, the month of Halloween. I have my spooky coat on, my bone fingers. It's a rip-roaring good time. But today we're talking about a very special Halloween treat. He's become a staple of Halloween over the years. Though he himself is not very scary, he does deal with a variety of different monsters and unmaskings. That's right, it's everyone's favorite Scooby-Doo. We all know him. You know, Scooby-Dooby-Doo, where are you? We got some goals to go now. Da-da-da-da-da. We all love it. Scooby and the gang, they've made countless of Halloween movies, from Scooby-Doo, the live-action movie, the live-action sequel, Cyber Chase, Salem Witch, Scooby-Doo and the Goblin King. Then there's the variety of TV shows. Scooby-Doo, What's New Scooby-Doo, Be Cool Scooby-Doo, we're gonna forget that one though. Where's Scooby, Where Are You Scooby-Doo, and Mystery Incorporated. All of them have become staples of Halloween. Some people binge watch every Scooby-Doo movie to celebrate the holiday. It's fun for the family, it's fun for kids, adults. There's no real age that Scooby-Doo has not somehow entertained. So, that would mean that we need to talk about one of the newest Scooby-Doo movies. Not the newest one, which the ads are completely false advertising, as if this is the first Halloween Scooby-Doo movie. Please, it's Scooby-frickin'-Doo. No, we're talking about the other Scooby-Doo movie, aptly named Scoob! This movie, it's interesting. It has a bit of controversy, if you'd believe it, because they swapped around some of the voice actors. The voice of Shaggy is different than the normal person who does Shaggy. Now, I myself dabble in a bit of voice acting, in case you couldn't tell. But this actually isn't that big of a deal to me. Yes, I do enjoy the original voice of Shaggy, but that doesn't mean that I'm not open to somebody else taking on the role. So, let's talk about the movie itself, which is by far the most important part. Whether it's voice acted correctly is another story entirely that we'll deal with as we go along. So, where does this movie begin? Well, some of you might be a little disappointed, because this movie doesn't take place in the normal timeline, because this movie isn't just a Scooby-Doo movie. No. It's a cinematic universe movie. This movie managed to combine all of the Hanna-Barbera cartoons into one universe. Now, how did they do this? Well, they did it actually very well. The only thing they changed was the time. They modernized all of the cartoons, setting all of them in a modern day, which is actually kind of smart, because it's always been up in the air, some of the cartoons. Wacky Races has never really made a very clear staple of what time period it exists in, and Scooby-Doo, while primarily living in the 60s, have been known to modernize themselves. So, a jump to the 21st century wasn't that big of a leap, as long as it has a purpose. And it does. This change was made so that all the cartoons can simultaneously exist. And I actually like the change. It doesn't really make any drastic storytelling differences, at least from the standpoint of the characters that we know and love. Anyway, we are introduced to Scooby-Doo stealing what I think is a giant blab of lamb or meat of some kind, and he then is introduced to Shaggy. These two are very young and haven't met the normal gang that we know and love. get used to not knowing them. But anyway, Scooby-Doo gets his name, and probably the first funny line in the movie, at least in my opinion, is a police officer who's trying to arrest Scooby because he doesn't have an owner. Says, "What's the dog's name?" And Shaggy says, "Scooby, Dooby, Doo." And the cop says, "A dog with a middle name. Well, there's no law against that." I love that. All the convincing that it took for this police officer not to arrest this dog that can talk is the fact that it has a middle name. I love that. It's random, it's weird, and it lets me know that this movie is in good hands. Yeah. And then we're introduced. Then, we have a couple of heartfelt moments, including Shaggy giving the dog tag to Scooby, which is a nice thing. The dog tag is a staple of Scooby. It's the logo of Scooby-Doo, right next to the Mystery Machine flower. So it's nice to see a heartfelt moment being shared with it, and to make the collar a plot point. It's actually welcomed. Then we're introduced to the rest of the gang. Fred, Velma, and Daphne. Don't pay any attention to them, because they're not in the rest of the movie. Yeah, it's kind of one of the problems that I have with the movie. Shaggy and Scooby get a lot of the screen time, and in fact are the main people in the movie, aside from the Blue Falcon. But that always troubled me. For a long time, there was a point where Shaggy and Scooby were the main stars, and the other characters didn't matter. That's always perplexed and bothered me. It's the Scooby gang, not Scooby and Shaggy. I mean, sometimes Daphne joins in, sometimes Velma joins in. Never Fred, though. Fred never gets the love he deserves, which is sad. But yeah, whenever they split up the gang like this, I always get kind of, upset that the other characters don't get a lot of screen time, especially considering that this is a shared universe movie. I want to learn to love these characters, but the only one that actually has any personality is Daphne. Daphne! Like, how? Fred has no personality? And don't go acting like Fred never had personality. In the Mystery Incorporated TV show, he had a personality. He was dumb as a sack of bricks, but he had a personality that I actually came to enjoy. And I would have liked to have a personality to enjoy in this movie. But these characters literally get thrust upon us in the plot and then get thrust away. We cut back into the future. Getting back to the plot, if you don't mind. Getting back to the plot, Scooby-Doo and the gang apparently have been solving mystery pro bono, and now want to go legit. So, naturally, they ask for the assistance of everyone's favorite person, Simon Cowell, making a very weird cameo, which then results in Scooby and Shaggy singing a duet. Naturally. They bomb, and they actually go to the bowling alley because Simon Cowell says that Scooby and Shaggy are one-note people and don't really matter in the terms of how they fit in the whole gang, which we all know is a bunch of nonsense. Half the time, Scooby and Shaggy are who solve the mystery. But I digress. So, the bowling alley apparently is infested by a bunch of robots trying to capture Scooby-Doo, but the Scooby-Doo and Shaggy, while running away from the monsters, are then abducted by everyone's favorite hero, the Blue Falcon. And if you don't know who the Blue Falcon is, they're kind of Scooby and Shaggy's version of Batman. In fact, in one iteration, he was even voiced by Adam West. But yeah, he's their version of Batman slash Tony Stark. He's a superhero in their universe. That's just kind of cool. A small part of me wishes it was Hawkman or the Space Ghost. That would have been really cool. A way to tie in more of the Hanna-Barbera characters. And before you go saying, "Oh, but that wouldn't have made any sense," Dick Dastardly is the villain. It would have been so cool if Scooby-Doo and Shaggy teamed up with the Space Ghost. It just would have made a great crossover, that's all I'm saying. Anyway, we then discover a couple of key plot points. One, we're introduced to Dick Dastardly. And if you don't know who Dick Dastardly is, he comes from the Hanna-Barbera cartoon Dick Dastardly and Muttley and the Flying Machines, who were their whole point was to capture a pigeon who was giving secrets to whatever war they were fighting in. It's actually a pretty catchy theme song. I highly recommend looking it up. He's also famous for the wacky races and trying to capture Penelope in the Wacky Wasted Theories, which is, again, a great series that currently has a reboot going. Haven't quite seen the reboot, but I've heard good things. Anywho, we're introduced to Dick Dastardly, the Ghost, and, of course, Blue Falcon, and Dynamite, who is kind of awesome. Of course, in the cartoons, Dynamite was played off as this kind of goofy, kind of dumb character who lucks out, kind of like a Inspector Gadget kind of feel. But now he's super smart, and he's supposed to be the straight man to the ridiculousness that is the Blue Falcon. The roles are reversed, but I kind of like it. Do I miss the dumb Dynamite? A little bit, but his voice would have gotten annoying by this point. But that's not all we're introduced to. We're also introduced to the key plot point in the whole reason this story is going on. It turns out that Scooby is related, DNA-wise, to Alexander the Great's dog. And Dick Dastardly wants to capture Scooby to unlock the gates of Cerberus. Which, how do you form the gate? Well, Dick Dastardly is also stealing and acquiring the 3 skulls of Cerberus. Yes, powerful ancient magic that will summon a doorway to great riches and fortunes, but comes with a dangerous curse. Great fortune, but it will also release Cerberus himself. They want to stop Dick Dastardly, naturally. They are led to an amusement park, which actually is a trap set by Dick Dastardly. And this whole scene is actually done brilliantly. First off, it's an abandoned amusement park, and it's Scooby-Doo. Like, the observational humor writes itself, and you gotta love it for that. But, furthermore, we also get a bunch of funny lines, like Dick Dastardly revealing that Shaggy isn't important and he's not looking for him. We also get shown that Blue Falcon feels inferior because he's not the original Blue Falcon. He's actually the original Blue Falcon's son, who's trying to fill in his shoes and kind of feeling like he's not doing a very good job. He kind of isn't. But, probably the one joke in the movie that makes me laugh every time I hear it is Dick Dastardly trying to convince Scooby-Doo to join his side. And Scooby goes, "Dastardly." And then Dick Dastardly walks up to Scooby and says, "Please, call me Dick." And then Scooby goes, "Right, Rick. No, Dick with a D." And there's a whole thing that leads up to Dick Dastardly just yelling as loud as he can, "Dick, Dick, Dick!" The immature part of my brain will never stop laughing at that. There is something about a cartoon character yelling Dick at the loudest octane he can that is just hilarious. I no longer want poop jokes in my cartoons. No, I want dick jokes. I just love it. But, okay, so after that, Velma, Daphne, and Fred get captured by Dick Dastardly by accident because the gang are trying to find Shaggy and Scooby, but they get captured by Dick Dastardly, and Dick Dastardly hopes to use them as a pawn. And that's when we're also discovered a new plot point. There's a lot of them in this movie. It kind of makes it a jumbled mess, but somehow it all comes together pretty darn well. Anywho, so it's revealed that Dick Dastardly once opened the gates of Cerberus using science. Yes, you know, science! The thing in cartoons that can do pretty much whatever you want it to. You want it to mutate a bunch of turtles to become super awesome ninjas? Science! You want science to open up a portal to another dimension filled with money, guarded by a three-headed dog? Science! So, he wants to open the gates not only for the riches, but also to regain his adorable dog, Muttley, who, if you know from the cartoons, you love that they didn't just straight up cut him out. You love that he actually made the cut. But yeah, it's kind of a heartfelt moment. Kind of. But then we got to another heartfelt moment because Scooby and Shaggy have to have a fight. And you know, this is kind of a cliche that I'm not a big fan of. You know, the forced fight between two friends. I mean, come on. Do we really need this to be the conflict? Especially considering we already have a supervillain trying to destroy the world. It just seems pointless. I mean, really. We have a scavenger hunt, kidnapped friends, an ancient prophecy, and a supervillain. Do we really need a forced breakup between Scooby and Shaggy to shoehorn this home? It just doesn't make any sense to me. But they do it. Because Shaggy is feeling inferior because Scooby-Doo is more special than him. Most friends would have been proud, but they decided to go the other route because apparently that's Shaggy's character. Anywho, we then find out that the mysterious third skull of Cerberus is on a mysterious lost island. The superheroes team up and go to the island, where they run into another Hanna-Barbera character. And this is the part that actually made me want the Space Ghost. Because Dick Dastardly, Scooby-Doo, and this guy, who I'm about to tell you, all Hanna-Barbera cartoon characters. I just feel putting the Space Ghost in here instead of the Blue Falcon would have made for a much better crossover. It's just my opinion. Anyway, the character that they run into is Captain Caveman, who is probably the weirdest voice actor in this entire movie. Yes, I know that everyone had the controversy over Shaggy's voice, but my question lies in the fact that Tracy Morgan is the voice of Captain Caveman. Who had that be a thing? But I'm okay with it because it's actually pretty darn entertaining, and he's pretty gosh darn funny. Yeah, when he's on screen, I love it, and I kinda hate that they don't bring him along for the rest of the adventure. But I digress, because we have to finish up this movie. The movie's actually not that long, and it's kind of merciful that way. I feel like if it overstayed its welcome, we'd all eventually hate the movie. But it doesn't. So, let's move on. So, Shaggy and Fred bust through to see Captain Caveman fight Scooby and the Blue Falcon, because they have to defeat Captain Caveman to get the skull of Cerberus. Again, the plot in this movie goes kind of everywhere, but you kind of get used to it, and again, it all works together somehow. So, Fred, come to find out, was Dick Dastardly in disguise. Oh, no, he didn't. Yes, he did. And he's so scary. He is a really good villain. And he gets all three skulls. And he kidnaps Scooby-Doo. So now, the gang has to team up with the Blue Falcon team to turn the Scooby-Doo van into a rocket-propelled van to fire themselves all the way at Greece so that they can stop Dick Dastardly. Save Scooby-Doo and the world all together in one night to save Halloween and Christmas. Seriously, the fact that those extra two adjectives didn't actually made sense to be added on should concern you. This plot is everywhere, and somehow it all came together in the climax. And by the way, I did skip over some of the plot, just because there were so many subplots. I had to skip at least 2. It's just so many. If you want to know about them, go watch the movie yourself. I hate to be that way, but I kinda have to be. Anywho, back to the climax. So, Dick Dastardly opens the gates of Cerberus and is reunited with his lovely Muttley. Oh, Lord. And along with Muttley came Cerberus, the 3-headed dog, who starts destroying stuff. So Scooby, Shaggy, and the entirety of the gang now have to fight off against Cerberus in an attempt to distract him. They're using the old antics, a musical montage of running back and forth, pies, visual gags left and right. It's actually a very entertaining fight. I do wish that Captain Caveman was here, but this climax is already a little jumbled. So, they do defeat Cerberus, and they capture Dick Dastardly, but we have to have a heartfelt moment in this movie. So, once they trick Cerberus back into the gate, they now have to figure out how to lock the gate. According to the legend, the door can be unlocked by one person, but it takes 2 people to lock it. Specifically, Scooby was the piece that can unlock the door because he's the ancestor of Alexander the Great's dog. But it takes Scooby and Scooby's best friend, his owner, to lock the door. One of them staying on our plane of existence, and the other one being trapped in the other universe with Cerberus on the other side of the door. So, Scooby and Shaggy have a whole moment where they're fighting over who goes in, who sacrifices themselves. And Shaggy, in a redeeming moment, decides it has to be him. And it is a pretty funny scene as they're trying to lock the door, because they're slapping each other and slapping the lock. It's very funny. But Shaggy pushes Scoob away, puts his hand on the lock, and locks the door from the inside. He forces this thing onto him, and it's kind of a heartfelt moment. But everyone who's seen the Scooby and Shaggy cartoon knows, yeah, this Shaggy's got to be back. So he does come back, and they try to do this whole fake out where they unmask Dastardly to be Simon Cowell. Of course, I knew it the whole time. But come to find out that Simon Cowell was actually Dick Dastardly in disguise. Oh my gosh. So surprising. And the movie kind of ends with a pop song and the Scooby-Doo gang setting up their own business in Greece and solving mysteries, leading way to a great sequel that may or may not happen in the future. And the credits. The credits are just one big Hanna-Barbera reference. Like, if you missed any of the because there's Hanna-Barbera references thrown all throughout the movie. And if you missed any of them, oh boy, you can't miss the end credits. The end credit kind of shows off a comic book version of an Avengers team made of Hanna-Barbera characters. Yeah! Magilla Gorilla, Grape Ape, Captain Caveman, Space Ace. I think there might have even been a Jetson reference in there. I can't be sure. There's a Yogi Bear reference, a Boo Boo. Like, this thing is full of them. And all in all, when the movie's all said and done, what does the acclaimed Scooby-Doo fan think? It's actually very entertaining, and I quite liked it. It was a very good movie. It made me laugh. I actually felt a little heartfelt at times. And, yeah, it was good. Do I kind of wish... Okay. Truth talk, though. I do have one small problem with the movie. It's not a mystery. Like, come on. There's one thing that Scooby-Doo is famous for. Mysteries. Unmasking the villain to reveal the darkness underneath the mask. Like, there's been movies with real live monsters in it. That's not a real problem. But there's always been a mystery element to it. This doesn't have a mystery. It has plot point and action. Cause and effect. There's no mystery to it. No figuring things out. None of that. It's Scooby-freaking-Doo. You'd think that they would get that right. And it's so weird because there's so much heart and attention put into this movie. Right down to no joke, them recreating the original theme song. The theme, like the original, like animation-wise. They recreate it shot for shot. If you clearly know enough to do the theme and make all of these references, then why is your Scooby-Doo movie not about a mystery? I just got... Look, Scooby-Doo has done movies where it's not been mystery-based, but when they do that, it's usually something wacky and crazy, but there's still monsters involved, because it's Scooby-frickin'-Doo. This doesn't have any monsters, unless you count Cerberus, but he's at the end of the movie. But for a Hanna-Barbera fan, this is the best thing you've seen since the Yogi Bear crossovers. And yeah, there's Yogi Bear crossovers. As amazing as this movie is, it's not the first time a bunch of Hanna-Barbera cartoon characters have come together. Oh yeah, Yogi Bear used to be famous for doing this stuff. He even has a few holiday specials, including a Christmas one and a Halloween one, and just a normal one. I might get to some of them in the near future. I do love myself some Hanna-Barbera. But, yeah, kind of a neat way to start off my spooky season. But I have a treat for you. I will be reviewing my next movie upon the request of you, my lovely viewers. You will have 4 options. Option number 1. The Witches, the 1990 version. Seeing as there's a reboot coming around the corner, it only makes sense that I give you the chance to vote for me to review the original. Number 2. This Leprechaun. Oh yeah, the Leprechaun. Number 3. Scary Godmother, a Cartoon Network special movie that kind of holds a special place in this old pirate's heart. And number 4, Billy and Mandy. The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. Maybe I'll review the show itself. Maybe I'll just review one of their movies. There isn't really a wrong choice to be made with Billy and Mandy. Leave a comment of what you think I should review. And the one who gets the most votes or comments, I will review in my next episode. So, until next time, ghosts and ghouls.